One of the best exercises you could do to develop your chest are flies. Flies are a staple in every chest workout. But what is more effective, cables or dumbbells? In other words, what should you pick for your flies, for your chest, to get the most development? Go with cable, go with the dumbbells. Let's talk about it.
Cables.
Flies for the gas.
Cables all the way.
Well, let's talk about it. Why do you pick cables right out the gates?
Well, beginner or advanced too, I still would. It's the time under tension. You have the strength curve. It's the entire time through the
consistent tension.
Yeah, consistent tension from the fullest open range of motion all the way to the closed. And with dumbbells, although by the way, I mean I always advocate for free weights and dumbbells. There is only a small portion where the greatest tension is on the chest. And then as you get closer and closer to the top of the movement, very little tension is put on the chest. Even the most advanced lifter can do a good job of keeping that by squeezing and choosing to intrinsically do that, which is what I do. But the beginner, I'd say, would have a harder time doing that.
Okay, so for people who are kind of not understanding that, right? When you're on a bench, let's do a flat fly with dumbbells, right? When the dumbbells are up here at the top, there's no tension really on my chest because the dumbbells aren't fighting gravity, or at least my chest isn't fighting gravity yet. But as I bring the dumbbells out, now I'm opposing gravity. So the 50-pound dumbbells or whatever I'm using are heaviest at the bottom. At the top, there's almost no tension. And so I'm glad you went where you went, Adam, because I used to agree with you. Because with cables, 50 pounds at the bottom is 50 pounds in the center. Whereas with the dumbbells, it's really, the tension is mostly at the bottom. Now, here's why I disagree now. Now, anecdotally, I've heard the argument objectively. I'm like, well, cables have tension all the way through. They should be better. But with my clients and with myself, I've always noticed that dumbbells might be a little better. And I just couldn't explain it. It didn't make any sense because the tension is the same all the way through. Well, now we have these studies showing that the portion of the rep that contributes the most to hypertrophy.
It's the deepest stretch.
It's the stretch.
Right.
And so because the dumbbells essentially are training the stretch position, the hardest and the heaviest, you might be triggering the most hypertrophy because of that stretch position. Now, you can get a stretch with a cable too.
That's right.
But the fatigue might set in a little more because the tension's all the way through.
I was just going to say, if I was trying to make an argument for your case, although I disagree with you, but if I were going to agree with you, the argument that I would make is that because of the fact that you don't have the tension on the pec at the top, you're not going to fatigue out as early as you will with cables. I mean, cables, let's say however much you load it, you're only going to be able to do so much weight. So let's say you're trying to complete 10 reps. I got to choose a weight with cables that I can complete the full range of motion 10 reps.
Right.
And I'm more likely to only be able to do a weight that is less than the stress that the heaviest load of dumbbell I could do, because the dumbbell, as long as I can get it out of that hole, I almost get a little bit of a breather and a break before I go right back down again, and then then it's hard, and then easy. And so those, in the course of 10 reps, I get a little bit more rest, let's say, on the pec. Therefore, I can load it a little bit heavier
in the stretch,
in the stretch position.
Yes.
So that's not you can make that argument.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have necessarily said that before, except for anecdote. Like, again, I've had clients do both, and it's minor, by the way. I don't think it's this huge difference, but I do think it's a difference.
Do we have any studies, Sal, that compare and I know this depends on even the machine and the pulley system that individual machine has, because I'm like, what we would like to see is 50 pounds on the cable is equated to X amount. You know what I'm saying? Do we have? But it's too hard because every cable, like a free motion, is different than a standard.
Yeah, because you could have two pulley setups and 50 pounds now it's 20 pounds or something like that. I don't know. I don't know of any studies like that, but I think because the tension's in the stretch, most of the resistance is there. That's what you're stressing the most. And now we have studies showing that loading the stretch is where a lot of the hypertrophy tends to happen. Now, by the way, this is a plus, but it can also be a minus, because if you have trouble connecting to your chest, where you're going to want to focus is the squeeze. Anytime you have trouble connecting to a muscle, it's the shortened position that allows you to contract. and squeeze in that position. So for someone who like they bench, they incline, like I don't feel my chest at all, cable would probably be better because you can squeeze and I can start to feel the chest.
Now, does 10% loading the muscle in the stretch outweigh though the total time under tension benefits that you're getting from the cable?
Yeah. Great question.
Because,
I don't know.
And also those angles in between, in terms of so I have the full stretched out like angle where I'm stressing it the most, but then all those angles preceding that, leading up into the squeeze, you know, to challenge that. I just know that from breaking it down isometrically, when we start to kind of really focus on these different angles, where a lot of the momentum carries you through those moments versus the cable itself will actually challenge those moments, I think, a little bit further.
Well, that's what I'm saying right now. The time under, so you have to make your argument would also be arguing that the ability to load the pec by 10% more in the stretch position, and I'm just using a round number, 10%, let's for argument's sake, loading it by 10% more outweighs the total amount of time under tension that you're getting in the cable, because you're going to get a significant amount more of time under tension.
Yes.
Now, it's at a lighter weight, hence your argument.
Which one's better?
Yeah, so which one is better? And obviously what we always say is both, right?
Do both.
So,
and it depends, I think, too, on acceleration. So if you're going for more of an explosive, fast twitch, obviously cables are going to be preferable, I would think.
It's safer for sure.
Yeah, well, just more consistent fluid.
Now there's two other points that I like to make with this, which is for shoulder, if you're working on shoulder stability, you know, free weights are free weights. I like them because you have to balance them. I mean, the potential for the dumbbell to go anywhere is higher than with a cable. So when it comes to working on shoulder health and mobility, then the dumbbell probably edges out the cable. And then on the other side, cables, I can do it from any position. With dumbbells, I'm working with gravity. But with cables, I mean, I could stand and do flies. I could lay down and do flies. I could do cable crossover type flies. I mean, any angle I want. The versatility with cables is amazing because the pulley can be attached at many different positions. So, you know, you have, again, a plus and a minus, you know.
I actually really like kettlebells for how they're loaded.
Oh.
You know, the back
behind
of
the
arms.
hand?
Yeah, and just the downward forces with gravity. It's great.
You know what you get with kettlebells is you get more time under tension than with dumbbells. Because as I'm coming up with a kettlebell, it lags behind my hand.
Right.
So it's actually harder towards the top than a dumbbell would be same weight. I've done flies with kettlebells.
Yeah, not a lot of people do that.
No.
So it's interesting.
I'm so glad you said
we did that in Kettlebells for Aesthetics.
We did. Yeah.
It's not a program we talk a lot about, but we did that.
No, however much weight you use with dumbbells and flies, you can't do that with kettlebells. You'll find real quick it's harder because the weight lags behind the hand. So, you know, when I'm up here with a dumbbell, that's it, I'm done. With a kettlebell, it's already still behind me. There's still tension there. You know, so you might get the best of both worlds with that.
My favorite part about this discussion, Sal, more than who's more right in this is this is just a classic example of why I don't think anybody who speaks in absolutes around fitness, like that, I think that's just a silly thing to do, because you could put me in a position with a lot of different things like that, and I feel like I can argue either side really well.
Yep.
Totally.
And so when we get into this, like, in our space is notorious for this, right? Where a new influencer or a fitness, you know, science nerd guy comes out and says, this is the best based off of these studies. And it's just like, okay, yeah, based off of that study, that's a good argument for that. But you can totally take a whole nother approach and make an argument for why that's not and something else is. And the truth is, this is why it's important that we understand this too, that we reap the benefits of both. And this just shows you how unique the two. Even though let's say you were doing both of them in the, like, say, lying down position, and you're doing the cable flies that way and you're doing dumbbells, even though it may seem like it's the same exercise, it's almost like a completely different exercise because they each carry different benefits.
Yes, and the reason why I like these discussions is if you're listening and you start to understand the pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses of each, it gives you a little insight on how to program for yourself. Because again, if you're somebody that finds it difficult to connect to your chest when you do a bench press, and so let's say you think to yourself like, well, I maybe I'll do an isolation exercise first, get a little pump on my chest, so when I bench press, I know how to position my elbows, move the bar to feel it more in my chest. A fly might be best with a cable in that case, because cables, because of the tension at the center where you squeeze, that helps you connect, right? You may be listening to this and being like, well, you know, at the bench, when I bench and I want my bench to go up, I have a sticking point at the bottom. The bottom is really hard. Well, a fly might actually convert better to a bench if we're thinking of it as an exercise to support another exercise, because the fly's heaviest at the bottom. If you're tight in the shoulders, you need to work on shoulder mobility. Well, you may want to use dumbbells a little bit, again, for the stretch and the mobility perspective. And then from an angle, situation, let's say you're experienced. You want to add variety. You want to try all kinds of different varieties of flies and have a good time with them. You can't do that necessarily with dumbbells. But yeah, you're dumb if you look at your toolbox and you start throwing tools out because one tool is better for a job than another. No, save that tool. It reminds like my dad's tool. I know all of our dads are all blue collar guys or whatever. I go on my dad's toolbox and he's got stuff in there that he almost never uses. But when he needs that tool, it's there.
Yeah.
It's not like he just has a hammer.
I still buy tools every year for Christmas, at least something.
Do you really?
Yes. He gets so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's never going to use it.
Yeah. My dad even has like certain screws and things that he never, that's like, but 10 years later, he's like, oh, I got that. He'll go pull it out.
I just got like a digital ruler.
Yeah. Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Look, are you lifting weights, eating a ton of food and struggling? You're not packing on any muscle. You're not building any muscle at all. You're not getting stronger. Well, check it out. We have a hard gainer guide. This can be your ultimate resource to turn that around. Pack on some muscle mass with our hard gainer guide. It's totally free. You can get it by downloading it, clicking on the link in the description below.
Now, can you guys, do you remember the last workout where you were contemplating, I'm gonna do some flies. I might do cable, I might do dumbbell. What you decided and why? Do you remember? That's what I was trying to. While you were talking, I'm like, when was the last time I made that decision?
Yeah.
And why did I make that decision?
You know what's funny? Here's how I make my decision based on these two. It isn't necessarily, number one, which one have I been doing more of? And then I'll sometimes switch. Oh, I've been doing flies with dumbbells for a while. Let me go to cables and vice versa. But I do notice that dumbbells seem to hammer my body a little more than the cables do. So if I'm like, I'm a little bit teetering on maybe doing too much, but I want to do another exercise, I'll go to cables. If I'm feeling strong and I want to go hard and heavy and I feel fully recovered and I haven't done dumbbells in a while, then I'll choose dumbbells. And that's just a personal choice. I just noticed the dumbbells tend to take a little more out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Nothing?
No, all I could come up with is when I'm feeling lazy. I mean, being honest, right? I was like, what was the last? And I'm like,
if it's accessible, I'm like, I'll jump in.
Well, the cables are easy.
They are easy.
They're easy. Like I don't got to take them off the rack and carry them over. Rock them back up.
It is a bit of a setup with the dumbbells.
There's a little bit more grinding. I feel of a grind with the dumbbells. Where the cables, I can get in there, just start real easy and light. I don't got to move very much. So I think the last time I decided it was based off. But okay. Very similar to kind of your point, though. It's probably because I didn't get the greatest of sleep and this workout, or I didn't need that much intensity. And so for me, that's probably when that makes sense. Now I'm in the flow. I'm killing my workouts, good sleep, and I'm like, ooh, I want to increase the intent. I want to do something different. Then I probably would switch over and then done dumbbells.
Yeah.
That's probably how I've decided the last couple of times, but I couldn't recall of a better reason other than that.
A lot of times for me, it's like if it's the hex dumbbells that are all big and clunky, I'm like, I'm not doing flies with those stupid things, But I'll do it with the iron
aesthetic
ones.
reason, just like these look goofy. I don't want to.
They're just awkward, and like big and annoying, and they'll pinch my hands, whatever. Fuck all that
you
shit.
gotta watch out your little hands. I still prefer to this day dumbbells with plates on them. More than solid dumbbells. You know what I mean? Not the ones.
Is it because you like the clanking sound?
It might be a
the iron ones that I can slam together.
Like they're set. I'm not talking about I know
what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about, but they still kind of rattle. They tend to get loose. They tend to get loose and rattle.
They just have a different feel. Is it nostalgia?
I don't like them.
Well, it's thinner too. I would think.
I actually like that they went to the kind of hex, the 24-hour fitness vibe ones. Those don't bother me. Not for that. Because I do stuff too where I pinch them together. I love one of my favorite things to do is overhead extensions with independent dumbbells. So I like to take independent dumbbells, pinch them on the hex, and then do overhead.
Oh, because
instead of doing one like this, instead of doing one with the triangle hold, I like to pinch two together, and I like to hold them other. Personal preference, something that you can't really do with the round ones. The round ones, it'll slide all over the place, and you can't do that. You would do the diamond hold.
Interesting.
Stupid. But
I got an interesting study to bring up for you guys on a compound that we know to be beneficial to help during flu and cold season, right? So if I were to tell you guys what's one of the, something you can take that's natural that's been shown to help with influenza, and you were to make a list, elderberry would probably be
Elderberry,
Yeah,
zinc.
go to.
Yeah, but elderberry's like it's got studies backing it up. Like it reduces the severity,
Yeah.
and the potential of actually getting infected. It's actually one of the few things that shows that efficaciousness against viral infection, especially influenza. Well, anyway, a new study came out of Washington State University that shows that elderberry juice may be a tool for weight management and enhancing metabolic health. So a clinical trial found that drinking 12 ounces of elderberry juice a day for a week caused positive changes in the gut microbiome and improvements in glucose tolerance and fat oxidation. So through benefits through the microbiome, they have some improvements in glucose tolerance. Isn't that interesting?
That is.
Elderberry. So
What do you know?
yes, so not only does it help with not getting sick, it helps with insulin sensitivity.
So when a study says, improved microbiome, what are they measuring? Just it's more diverse. And if that's the case, doesn't almost introducing anything different makes it more diverse?
No, not necessarily, but yes, diversity tends to be
We tend to attach the diversity to like
better.
it's good.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
You're right. But
Are they
it's,
parsing out beneficial versus non-beneficial?
no,
bacteria?
they're not looking that deep.
Yeah.
What they're noticing is changes in the microbiome, and then these changes are affecting improvements in glucose metabolism. And then they go back and look at other studies showing, do these changes contribute to glucose metabolism improvements? And they think yes. When it comes to microbiome, the science is still
So that's why
bro. Literally, we're gonna need AI, supercomputers to figure this all out because of the diversity, how it interacts.
I
with
feel
the
like
food, the body.
I feel like the gut microbiome has become in the last decade or less even a very popular conversation that we're getting. I don't know about the average person, but more people are aware of
Yeah.
it. That's important. And I think the easy low hanging fruit is to say that this thing diversifies it, and we know that gut diversity is good. Therefore, this thing is good.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody's trying to attach that to it. And it's just like, is it really anything, or is it really that amazing that it's done that? Because it feels like almost anything that you introduce to the gut that's new would make it.
We'll change it.
Yeah, we'll change it and create diversity.
Yeah, and the more varied your diet, the more diverse it tends to be. Type
Yeah.
of deal. I think the best thing we know right now is that there are certain beneficial bacteria that we do know have positive effects on overall health through the gut microbiome. So like we work with Seed, right? Seed does a good job with this. They have the best scientists on this. And they've come up with the most beneficial bacteria. They've also created a way to deliver it where it needs to go. And by improving the gut microbiome, you tend to improve glucose metabolism. In fact, I don't know if you guys knew this, mouthwash has been connected to reduced insulin sensitivity. Yeah, maybe Doug, you pull it up or type it in mouthwash and insulin sensitivity, because it wipes out the bacteria in your mouth, and that seems to have a measurable effect.
Now, this
on
is
insulin
It's kind of like
sensitivity.
hand sanitizer, right? Like there's beneficial bacteria on the skin that gets reduced.
Yeah, but that's like washing your hands.
Isn't it widely accepted and known that like mouthwash is not a good idea for us? Isn't that true? I
Not
mean,
widely accepted.
It's not. Well, obviously not, because we still sell it at grocery stores like crazy, and people buy it all the time. But it is not a good thing to rinse with mouthwash,
No, not
especially
unless
on
you
a
have
regular basis.
Not
right?
unless you have a specific reason to use it, like you have a mouth sore or something that you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, you're right, 100%. Look at this. Some studies have found that mouthwash use may be linked to insulin resistance and diabetes.
What?
Oh, that's why. It eliminates oral bacteria that help produce nitric oxide, which is also helps regulate
Interesting.
insulin levels. By the way, I can say this, that a good probiotic will probably improve your body's ability to produce nitric oxide. This may be one of the reasons why probiotics have been somewhat connected loosely, but I think we'll get better science later, to improve cardiovascular health as well. So it's become one of those supplements. I'll tell you what, unless you have like SIBO or some gut issue where you have functional medicine practitioners telling you specifically not to take a probiotic, probiotics, one of those supplements that are up there that everybody should probably take. Like it probably benefits everybody regardless of what your goal is, your health or whatever. Probably a good idea to supplement with a good probiotic.
I mean, what are the cases when you wouldn't?
Well, if you have SIBO, for example, a functional medicine practitioner might say, I don't want you to take any bacteria at the moment.
Grow it?
It could grow. It could cause problems, or it could slow down whatever we're trying to do type of deal. So there are times in the functional medicine.
I mean, that's it though, pretty much. I mean, that's the only, wow.
Yeah.
So if you don't
or
have
if it bothers your gut, I've taken some probiotics that gave me the opposite effect. Seed's the one I've taken the most consistent, always, and it's never, other probiotics I'll take and then over time start to bother me. But the seed's the one. How long have we been working with them? It's been like 3 years. 4 years.
Way more than that, bro. That goes back before Taylor.
Does it?
Yeah, it's Taylor.
Oh, I've been taking them the whole time.
Yeah, Taylor was actually the one that put me on to seed. So giving him his credit where it's due. Like that, I didn't know who they were, and he introduced us. And then once it passed you, because then I sent it over to you. Like, hey, look into the science. You looked all into it. Then you were like, oh yeah, this is legit. Dude. And then we brought was it the founder or one of the I can't remember if it was the founder.
It's
or
been a long time now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, bro.
So I've been taking it for at least 6 years.
Oh yeah, this is 6-7 years we've been with them.
Wow,
maybe more.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they're part of.
I'm telling you, before that, I used to have to cycle them because it would start to bother me.
Yeah. I mean, everybody that's like that's close to me, that's family and friends that we've got on seed. I've nothing but like
positive.
And these are people that, by the way, like already took probiotics. And then they switched over, and then they go like they notice a difference, which I find that even more impressive. It's like, well, obviously, if someone never takes any probiotics whatsoever, then you introduce it to them and they see positive, like, okay, that makes easy sense, right? But for somebody who's like consistently used, probiotics and then to switch over and notice a profound difference is pretty cool.
Dude, I got to tell you guys about a conversation my 4-year-old had with my wife, and then she came back to me. She's like, we got to be careful how we talk around the kids. They were talking, and I don't know what happened. I don't know how this conversation come up about like bad guys, right? Like bad villains and bad guys sometimes exist in the real world type of deal. And he's like, Mom, so if there's ever a bad guy, you take Dahlia and you guys run, and me and Dad will stay behind because we're the men. It's just like, no, you're a kid. You come with me. What are you doing? So, and I know where this came from. It came from, so we came home the other day, and I had forgotten to close the garage.
Yeah.
So we come home, the garage is open. So and it was late at night. So I told Jessica, I said, hey, wait here with the kids in the car. Let me go inside. Yeah. Probably nothing, but let me go inside and look around, right? And I go inside, and 1 minute later, Jessica walks in. So I get out and I tell her, if this ever happens, if I don't respond or you hear something, you take the kids and run.
Right.
My job is like, stay there and make sure you guys are okay, but don't ever follow me, right? Yeah. So I think he overheard that. So I'm like, I'm the man. I stay back. I'm the one to get killed. I don't care what happens to me. Take the kids and run.
Oh my God.
So he must have heard that. He's like, we're the men.
Isn't it wild how like one situation, one scenario like that, and then it makes an imprint so much that they keep saying it or keep repeating it, and you can't get it. Yeah, no, I think that's
so funny.
I'm still in trouble about the beaver thing with Katrina.
Oh, did you tell? You didn't say that on the podcast.
Oh, I didn't talk about it on the podcast. I told you guys off air about it, but it's like he has to bring it up now all the time. I'm like, Katrina's like, she just gives me this look all the time. I'm like, fuck, okay, so I made a mistake. I thought that was funny.
Because I know what you do. You'd say a sentence that
I said something to her like in front of him, like that was referring to her private area as a beaver, right? But I did it in a way that only her and I got it, but he
didn't even use that word anymore.
He picked up on like, mommy has a beaver, and now it's like all he wants to do is see her beaver. You know what I'm saying? He wants to know why daddy loves her beaver so much, and it's just like, oh God, dude. I'd say it like one time thinking it's funny, and then it's like,
Mom, you never showed me your beaver.
Yeah. It's like, and he just randomly will bring it up now out of nowhere, like
around other people.
Yeah, just all the time now. Beaver. So it's just like
my mom won't show me her beaver. I don't know what's wrong with
her. So daddy's in trouble for that one right now. I thought it was funny and cute when I first did it, and then it's just like, but they just hang on to it. It's like, there's a million things I've said to him, probably around him, that's been okay, but something sparked. Maybe because he
saw the reaction. Maybe
I think what it was. Maybe he saw mom and dad smirking about it or something like that. Mm-hmm. But he definitely, and I think maybe it has something to do too with like maybe that is not a common animal that we talk about or whatever. Yeah. So now he's like super curious to see it or whatever. So yeah, Katrina's been all upset about that one. So.
I gotta show you guys. I sent the video to Doug. I want to show you. So my daughter's 2, and I don't know where she gets this sassy little attitude from. She suddenly developed.
You're sassy, dude.
So no, I'm not. Only when
you were sassy this morning with our YouTube team.
Stop. Look at
sassy.
Look at this. We're going out. She's about to run. I'll describe to people. And this girl took her space. Look what she does, dude. I don't know why she's stomping her foot. And then right here we're asking, we're like, why are you stomping your foot? And so she's like, that girl took my spot.
Oh, that's funny.
And then look what she does. That's her. What are you doing, little girl?
Oh my God.
Just pissed off.
Oh my God.
She just does this thing now. She crosses her arms and she stomps when she's angry. See, she keeps doing it.
I want you to know, Dad.
Yeah,
I want you to know what she did.
So cute, though.
Oh, that is
so
cute.
But when she's a teenager, I'm gonna hate that.
That's what's funny.
cute when
It's
they're
cute
cute,
right
you know,
now.
a lot sassier later.
My best friend, we were all together up in Truckee. My best friend has their 2 kids, and they have a daughter, and she is now, what is she, 2.5, 3 now? Just like, and
is she?
And it's so funny you shared this video, because one of the things I was looking at my boy, I'm like, oh damn, bro. We were in the living room doing something, and I don't know what his mom told her no, like no, don't do that like that. And she did the cross her arms, and she did the dirtiest looking.
Stomped her foot?
Yes, stomp her, and she makes this little grunt. And I'm like, oh, bro, dude. I'm like, already right now you get that? I'm like,
I don't know where they learn it. I think it's natural. Like, where did she get that from? I don't stomp my foot like that and cross.
It
my
is
arm.
interesting. That's the same thing too. It's like I don't think my buddies
Can't
ever
do anything, so that's like the go-to, I guess.
Dude.
Yeah,
what is happening?
I think that's.
Let me tell you, when they're teenagers,
it's not so cute.
no,
anymore. It's
not
not
at
so
all,
cute
dude.
anymore.
No, and you want to be like, oh, you want to see who stomps harder? I got a way harder stomp than you do. Let me show you. Speaking of kids, did you guys see the comments under the, I don't know if you guys did or not.
Oh
but I
yeah,
did,
no,
under
I
Erica
checked it out.
Komisar's.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be controversial at best.
It's of course because we're fathers, okay?
That's why it's controversial, because we're fathers.
No, no. it's not.
Oh, I was like, what?
I'm saying we're parents, okay?
It was triggering.
If you're a parent and you really care about your kid, it's one of the most challenging things and easiest things that happen is to look back or look at yourself, because you care so much about your kid. You love your kid more than anything. And it's easy to break yourself down. It's so easy. Nobody's perfect. So it's easy to be like, oh my God, I yell too much. I'm not present enough. I have to work too much, or whatever. And so here we have an expert come on and talk about the data, talk about what's ideal for little kids. And for sure, you're a parent, especially a mom. I think moms in particular can be susceptible to this. And you can hear all the things you're not doing. Mm-hmm. And so what it'll make you want to do is defend yourself fiercely.
So I don't think that's why people get upset.
I do.
I don't think that's why people get. So okay, let me ask you this, because I thought about this. Who did you share that interview with anybody?
A couple people, because
you did.
I did.
Okay, so I didn't.
Oh,
The reason why I didn't.
No.
I'll tell you why I didn't. Was because even though I thought it was an awesome interview, it was enlightening for me. I enjoyed it because I like to be challenged that way as a parent, right? So I embrace what I could have done better, what I'm not doing, whatever that. Right. I mean, and for the audience, knows Katrina works full time, has worked full time with Max. So like I'm an example of what is not ideal. Now we've done a lot of things to, I think, her pretty much still be with him and works from home, yada yada. But point is, I have like friends that I wanted to listen to it, but I didn't want to share it.
Like you'll be attacked.
That's right. Because I feel like if I send it to them, it's going to come off like me saying, you guys are doing all this stuff, which is, so understand, our audience receives it like that, because our audience is, here we are sharing it with them.
Yeah.
Even though we selfishly wanted that interview. So the audience understands we pursue guests like this for personal growth, not because we think you all need to hear this shit. This is like, we reach out for guests like these because we like to hear this stuff, good or bad, about ourselves as parents. And so when we do an interview like that, this is not, and I think the way some people receive it, which is the people that got upset, it's like us on a pedestal trying to tell everybody else, like, you should raise your kids like that. Like, no, it's not how this is. No. The way this is this is us sharing with you the things that we're learning about and we're reading or we're watching. Therefore, we're sharing. But I could totally see how you would interpret that as us telling you, just like why I didn't share it with some of my friends, because I'm like, man, if I share this with them, even though I thought it was a great episode and it gave me a lot of value, it's going to come off as me telling you.
Well, the couple people I sent it to, I thought.
That's my thought.
I knew wouldn't take it that way. There's a lot of people I didn't send it to.
Okay.
Because that's more personal, right? Because I'm sending it to
right. But think about it. That's how the audience is probably receiving it.
Maybe.
Yeah. If you're their audience, and we present our fitness knowledge and information from that place. We're coming from a place of experience, science, knowledge, wisdom, and here we are.
We do that with fitness and with business as well. Like there's a lot of times we're like super humbled because, oh man, we should have started off like that. Why didn't we use that formula? Why didn't we go in that direction? There's a lot of things to reflect on. So yeah, it's a tough one when it's like it feels like, oh my God, it's
especially when it's your kids.
You're focusing on my deficits.
Yeah, but I feel bad. First of all, being a parent today is so hard. But I'll speak specifically to moms. It's really hard because you're a stay-at-home mom. Oh, you're wasting your talents. Why aren't you getting a job and contributing? Oh, you work. Oh, you're not there for your kid. You're not whatever. You're criticized no matter what, or should I say, you can look at yourself and feel inadequate. This happens to fathers too. Yep. It's very, very easy. And the world doesn't make raising your kid any easier because you're countering everything else the world is doing. And if you let the world raise your kids, now you're doing a bad job. But if you counter the world, well, now you're isolating your kid. There is nothing's ever going to be perfect. So when you look at it, you take the information, you go, okay, how can I apply this to myself? Are there things I can change? How can I make my situation, which is challenging, as good as possible? But I will say this, and Arthur Brooks shared this with us. If you're thinking about how you can become or be the best parent, you're already 90% of the way there because you care.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people don't even
think. You have to rest on that fact.
Yes. A lot of people don't even think about that kind of stuff. But when it comes to raising kids, it's tough because
I thought it was awesome.
I loved it.
It was enlightening for sure.
I like being called out on stuff like that. Like I'll tell you something that really hit home for me, that if I'm being honest with myself, when I really think about those conversations that Katrina and I have had, are they really coming from a place? Am I really trying to put myself in my child's situation and think about the landscape? Or am I actually thinking from a parent's perspective and what I want for my life or our life?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the truth is, it's selfishly motivated. As much as I think, although it's cloaked in, I'm doing this for my son. It's like, wait a second, my son doesn't fucking know that. He doesn't know any of those things like that. And if he had to choose, the vacations that we get to take and the things that I love to do and stuff like that, or the bigger home, the more things, or just dad being around him more, what do I think? And did I really think from that perspective when I have that conversation? No, being honest with myself, I could be better about that. I could have been better about that. I think Katrina and I thought about ourselves or our family unit, but from our perspective, not really trying to put ourselves in a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old shoes and go like, if they had a voice, what would they say at this time? And to me, so I think that's really good and powerful. And hey, it fucking stings when when you look back and you go like, yeah, I guess that's true.
I know it.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think that's the reason why the audience gets so defensive sometimes, is because it's like, it's as if we're sending it to them directly.
That wasn't the intention.
Of course not. Of course not. We have fucking millions
It feels
of people,
that way though when
so
it's being like,
so it's not like we're targeting on each individual. I mean, this is us sharing and learning as we go through this process. Man, one of my favorite.
The truth stings sometimes, man.
It almost always stings.
Always.
When does the truth not sting?
Right. The most, right? Because then it's like you want to counter it, but you're like, but there's some truth there.
One of the biggest lies that I'm really beginning to understand fully around parenthood and marriage in particular, but parenthood specifically, is what the culture sells you. And I say culture is largely driven by markets and media, because that's what makes money. So that's what you're going to see a lot of. And what the culture will tell you is you can have it all. So, you're going to get married, but you don't need to sacrifice any of your personal time and your needs, and it's a great time to, you're going to have kids, but you could still do it all. You could still have fun with your friends and go out all the time. You're not going to lose any intimacy with your spouse. You're not going to lose any. Here's how you can lose nothing and gain everything. That is not how it works. When you get married, things change. You throw some stuff away, but you gain new things. When you have children, you throw some things away, but you gain new things. You're not going to have it all, fellas. You're not going to be able to go out with your buddies all the time and hang out now that you're married like you did before, even though the culture will tell you.
Well,
you're not going to be able to.
This was so like countercultural. Like,
100%.
That's why it was like
Yes.
such like a left field experience. for a lot
Yes.
of
Well,
people.
don't you? I remember people telling me like that. What a mistake is for you to build your life around your child. I was told that
That's a mistake.
That's a mistake. That
Unbelievable.
what you should do is you bring that. I mean, Katrina, I remember that conversation with Katrina and I, and like we agreed, like that's right. You know, we're going to travel still. We're going to do this, and it's like, and because you were told that that's a mistake. It's like so many people, they completely change their lives because they have a kid and they disappear and they don't do all these things, and it's like that's right. We're not going to lose that. It's like no, maybe you do. I mean, or maybe you don't, but
It's sacrifice.
It's literally like that's how society has spoken to us. And so, yeah, you get someone like that who comes on and kind of just completely shatters that paradigm. It's frustrating. And then, the people I think the ones that bother me the most are the ones that like that still haven't figured out that we named Mind Pump for a reason, and we didn't name it Barbell Fitness. Guys,
Bicep pump.
Stay in your lane fitness podcast.
Fuck you, stay in your lane. Like Mind Pump. It's about growing your mind, right? And there's a lot that's encompassed in that. A lot that's not related to just lifting dumbbells and barbells. And we intentionally did that because that was something that we selfishly wanted. We wanted to pursue something that was more interesting than barbells and dumbbells. Yeah, we could talk about that all day long.
That's our expertise. That's where we're going to go.
That's right. So I tell you what, when you hear us talk about that, you bet your ass I'm talking to you. I bet your ass I'm talking to you that I know better. That's because I do, and and come at me for that stuff. But hey, when we're getting these other guests that are coming on that
they're the experts.
Are marriage and relationship stuff and raising kids and this is and economics.
Go argue with them.
This is all of our. This is part of why we wanted to do this is so that we could bring these people on, and this is us sharing it with you, our journey of going through that. It's not us telling you. This is how we think per se, because there's guests come on too, by the way, that are talking to us. Doesn't necessarily agree with 100% of what they're saying. But we're listening and we're trying to learn and be better ourselves. So there was a reason why we called it Mind Pump.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Look, we have a free guide. It's the benefits of eating whole foods. This gives you a shopping list, what foods are best for proteins, fats, carbohydrates. There's recipe samples. It's all based on real, whole, natural foods, and it's a free guide. It's totally free. You can get it if you go to wholefoodsguide.com or by clicking on the link in the description below. Justin, I'm going to switch gears here. I sent you some clips of the UFO disclosures that are coming out. God. Have you seen some?
Yeah,
so they just released.
I'm so not.
They just released the first authentic, quote unquote, authentic video of a UFO retrieval.
Yeah, that was weird.
Where they actually got and they said, no, this is a unidentified flying object that is not man-made. It looks like an egg. Yeah. And it's not a very compelling video, to be honest with you.
No, it's not.
But it's authentic. And then there are interviews with these people who said that they interacted with it, and what's weird is they're all talking about how
it's like a spiritual experience.
Yes, dude. I could it was communicating with me, and I could communicate with it through our minds. Yeah. And I felt this incredible spiritual presence. And then we all got really sick. And it's all these weird stuff that it's starting to strengthen my theory that we're probably not dealing with aliens. It's demons. I think it's like interdimensional.
You and Tucker Carlson are on that train. Yeah, he's all about that.
But I'm like, what do you mean it talks with your mind? It affects, it makes you feel like this wonderful spiritual presence or whatever. That sounds weird.
It sounds weird. Yeah, it sounds like magic.
Yeah. But they're apparently going to be releasing more and more of these disclosures.
I mean,
you think they're building up to something?
We're about to see quite a weird shift. There's going to be a lot of things that I hope all these disclosures really do happen, and we can gain a little bit of insight with a lot of the shenanigans going around. But yeah, I guess that's what's funny though. I'm more interested in actually the fabric underlying our government of like all the bad actors that we're gonna finally like get the real story of like.
Apparently they're gonna release it.
I'm so not like.
That's what I'm interested in. The UAP stuff is like ancillary.
What a weird time though. If they had released any of that UFO,
I would have been so much more into that.
Like 20 years ago, it would have made national news. Now it's like nobody cares.
Yeah. I just want vindication that, this meddling, can be out in the surface now.
Speaking of politics, Trump, I think, did one of the most smart political moves. I don't necessarily agree with, but did you see what he did with TikTok? What he's doing with TikTok?
Didn't you let it back on?
Well, that's the thing. All of a sudden, it's like, we don't have it. Oh, we have it.
Okay, catch me up on this. So we had discussed this just last week.
Supreme Court upheld that it could get banned.
That it was going to get banned, right? It was like there was a deadline. It was going to get shut down. Yeah. And then I think that lasted for 24 hours, and then it's back on. What happened?
Trump said he's going to try and work out a deal. If it's 50% owned by the U.S. government, they'll be able to keep it. Not U.S. government, U.S. companies. They'll be able to keep it on, I think. He also guaranteed companies who continued to host it that they won't get sued. But now, why is he doing this? Is it for the economy? Is it no, I'll tell you why he's doing it. He just crushed Gen Z votes.
That's it. And he even mentioned that helped elevate him in votes more so than most of the other platforms.
You should see the TikTok, like all these TikTok influencers right afterwards. Hey, Trump's the best. I'm like, bro, this guy knows how to play politics so well.
Getting that next generation already.
Man, 100% why he did it.
Yeah, that's weird to me.
That's 100%.
And I don't understand how does a company get 50% control. So let's say
so they'd have to sell half of it to an American company. That's what they would have to do.
They would literally have to give up half of their company.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. They'd have to sell it. I think they'd have to put it up for sale.
I mean, imagine someone approached us that way. And in order for Mind Pump to be played in China, we have to give up half of our company.
We have to sell half of our company.
Yeah, you're not doing that.
Well, I mean, we're not a huge market. They might.
I don't know. A lot of companies have sacrificed that, and then they end up well, there's been a lot of takeovers of corporations in China back in the day. So, yeah. Do you hear about all those?
No.
Oh, yeah. So there's been a few where like the state, they finally they brought people in.
Oh, yeah. I've heard this happen
and
all
then
the time.
they
They
take
try to do
over
that with
the board.
Tesla. I thought they tried to do that with Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where they bring them in and they pretend like they're going to be a part of it, and then they basically cut ties. They just take all their technology.
They take all the technology
turn around
and
and
then
go
they
build
literally flip it.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
But, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know.
As the father of 2 teenage kids, I was happy they were going to take them all off, man. Let's do this. A little selfish, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It's an interesting move for sure, though. I was kind of looking forward to a lot of the influencers crying about it for a while.
Dude, some people, that was their entire businesses.
Yeah.
And they were making a great living on TikTok, and then suddenly gone.
Well, and I heard that Instagram had released all this stuff that was supposed to be identical to TikTok to pick up literally the next day.
That was my conspiracy. I'm like, oh yeah,
that was interesting.
Zuckerberg's shifting gears, all this stuff. I'm like, that's a little suspect. And then but there's no TikTok. Like, where are they all going to go? I'm like, Meta's just going to.
Yeah. So I wonder what I would love to be a fly on the wall and behind closed doors on all this stuff, because it's interesting. One, that Instagram was ready to go. So the day TikTok was shutting down, Instagram was releasing all these features that basically make it identical.
Move everybody over.
Yeah, to capture that. And then 24 hours after that, then it's released. That must have been the curveball. That must have, I imagine, because it makes sense that Instagram is like, oh wow, TikTok is getting shut down for sure. All hands on deck. Let's do whatever we got to do, tech guys, and let's build the software or whatever, the capabilities to capture all these TikTok kids now so they can still TikTok away on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Is that the word?
I don't even know.
TikTok away.
Hey,
it's like,
who's TikToking right now?
It's like that Morbius movie. It's Morbin time.
Yeah. So dude, when you used to call our YouTubers or whatever, what you say?
Put me under. Hey, what about Bitcoin and all the blockchains crushing?
Where is Bit right now? Where is it
at? Dude, Bitcoin is what is it worth right now?
Is it over 60? Where's it at?
No, it's over
$103,000.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, dude. Because they think that they're gonna make it like a legit thing. That they're gonna add regulation around it and make it like something that. So Bitcoin is taking off.
Oh, we're gonna regret that one, huh? Well, at least you grabbed some.
A little bit. Listen, I'm going to tell you guys a story right now that hurts my heart when I tell it. It's a true. This is a true story. Okay, it hurts my heart. I swear to God, this is true. I had Martin. You know Martin. My client Martin. Years ago, this was probably. This has to be 14 years ago. My client Martin, who's a hardcore libertarian. It might even be longer than that, Doug. He's a hardcore libertarian. The libertarians were free market people, right? They knew about blockchain and Bitcoin well before anybody else. And I'll never forget, he came to me, I was training him, and we would talk about economics, and he's the guy that showed me, introduced me to Milton Friedman and all that stuff. And this was kind of like my introduction to economics was through Martin. Great guy, love him. And he said, hey, there's this coin that came out. It's called blockchain technology. It's digital money. And I remember him explaining it to me, and I remember it just going right over my head. I'm like, what? I don't get it. What is it? How does it work? He goes, Sal, he goes, listen, trust me. He goes, just buy a few of them.
He's like, I'd like to pay for my next session in 50 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want 50 Bitcoin.
Yeah, fuck off.
In imaginary coins.
Yeah.
He literally, I swear to God, this is what he said to me. Because back then, to buy it, you had to buy a separate
Wallet.
and all that
all-
stuff. He goes, I'll help you set it up. This is a true story. Sal, I'll help you set it up.
You couldn't even buy real
He goes,
things.
buy a few of them. I think it would have cost me $100 to buy like 4 or 5 of them back then or something like that. Okay. Maybe even less. I think I would have bought like 10 or 15. It was a lot.
Yeah.
And he goes, just buy some of them, put like $500 on it, leave it. And I remember thinking like, it sounds so weird. I didn't make any, nah, I'm cool. And we were going to do it. I was going to do it. So I could right now be worth like $50 million, but I never did it.
Probably more than that.
Dang.
So
What
frustrating.
did you guys see that? Did you guys see that Netflix documentary on the couple?
No.
Oh God, Dylan? Did you see it? You know what I'm talking about? Oh man,
which couple?
There's a couple that did this that were stealing Bitcoin, and they stole.
How do you steal it?
So I don't know, bro. Come on, ask me a question like that.
You'll be like a
this
super hacker.
No, it's exactly what they are.
Yeah,
they were hackers, and they hacked in, and they hacked in early. So they were like
That's my fear with the
they
whole
were skimming
platform.
it early when like a half of one was gone, and so this was like over the course of I don't know how many years. But the reason why it blew up was because they couldn't get it out, so they could mine it and steal it.
Yeah.
But it ended up being worth so much money that it would be you can trace it.
So
Like,
obvious,
yeah.
yeah,
So it'd
when
be
you go
obvious
cash out.
where it was coming from, and it finally caught up to them. But
Biggest heist ever.
yes, you guys have to. Yeah.
Oh my God,
4.5
$4.5 billion?
Yes.
Get out of here.
Yes.
You're too successful.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
you did
but
too good a
If
job.
you guys haven't watched it, you gotta watch this because it's
Wow.
entertaining as fuck. Because the two people that do it were part of why they also got caught up was because they were building Instagram personalities at the same time, and they were weird and over the top, and so it's a hilarious like story. And even when the feds caught on to who they were, they didn't believe it was true because there was no way these two knuckleheads were sophisticated enough to have stolen this much Bitcoin. It's a hilarious. It's a great little series. Yeah, it's a shout out for that. You guys will like that one.
What a terrible problem to run into. Hey, we stole billions of dollars. It's too much.
Too much.
No way we can get it out.
We went
Yeah.
too far.
So technically, I'm a billionaire. You know what I mean?
Because that's what I get. Okay, so that makes
For bragging rights.
that is what makes it so difficult to completely steal. Is like hacking. It's one thing, but then to get it out,
Impossible because
is-
they trace everything.
Yes, and that much money would be easy.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, remember you can sneak away a couple grand worth of stuff, but not billions or hundreds of millions. And that's how they ended up. It was wild the way they figured it all out. It's really it's an interesting story.
Is it true that John F. Kennedy, like one of the other reasons they speculated that he got assassinated was because he was creating an actual note that
right.
was removed from the Federal
US coin.
Reserve.
Yeah.
U.S. coin.
He was the
Why
government.
can't we do that? Let's get back to that and do something tangible. And
Every
not this
time,
blockchain shit.
every time something happens in that direction,
somebody gets
dies.
assassinated.
Somebody
I know.
dies.
That's why, like,
Yep.
but now they're doing all these crazy changes. Let's go.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, look, if you ever want to learn about this, read the Jekyll,
Yeah,
the
Creature
creature from
Island.
Jekyll Island, and the Fed. That's a book by Ron Paul. Kind of break it down to you. It is crazy that we don't make our own money.
We don't make our own money. It's not even part of this country.
No, the Federal Reserve,
the World
That's
Bank
what's crazy,
system.
that's a
the
private-
Federal
it's
Reserve is not a
private.
federal agency.
It's a bunch of gangster
It's like
bank-
FedEx.
Yeah.
It just has a name. It's a private bank.
I'm always like baffled that more people don't know that.
It's a private bank that we have said is the only bank that we could borrow official government, like official currency from. That's what we did. We took a bank. It would be like Mind Pump becoming the official fitness program creators.
for everybody.
And nobody else could create it. But in order to use it, the government has to borrow them, and then we always get interest no matter what.
Yeah,
What a
sweetheart deal, dude.
What a deal. How'd they get that deal?
It is a sweetheart
yeah.
deal.
It's wild.
You know, you were talking about partners earlier, and I meant to bring this up because Katrina manages the partners for us, right? So I every once in a while I'll be sitting there and hearing emails, and she'll be putting notes together for us when we have the ads and stuff like that. And I overheard her talking about the Organifi had sent over that it's National Green Juice, and I'm like,
National Green Juice Weekend.
So I go, that's bullshit.
My birthday is Green Juice Day.
So it's a real thing.
I didn't want this.
So they do that.
So it's a real thing. I thought it was fake. I thought it was something that like
How do you petition for a national?
I don't know.
I gotta find that out because
I don't know, but I actually was. I really thought that was something. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Come up with it. Like, we're gonna have a maps of National Day. We're gonna bring up to and do a bunch of sales that day or whatever. But
by the
no,
way,
it's a
Doug,
real
didn't
thing.
you say it was Starbucks? Was actually
Starbucks was involved with it in 2016.
Yeah.
National Green Juice Day. Yeah.
Interesting.
How interesting is that?
Is there a National Deadlift Day or something like that? Like,
We could start that.
There
Why not?
probably is.
I feel like there kind of is. They've become. There's days for almost. I know there's a donut day. I know that. So I'm sure
we
there's.
won't forget what you call Valentine's Day. Don't say it. So the green juice from Organifi has ashwagandha, by the way, for people wondering why theirs is so popular. Ashwagandha lowers cortisol, also helps with cravings. You guys know that?
Yeah.
Helps with
I
cravings.
noticed that.
So it has beneficial effects for appetite control from a craving standpoint.
Now, is that because that's all? So we've talked about this before. You get a bad night of sleep. And
Correct.
And then
Cortisol.
Yes.
You are right.
And so it's the cortisol spike
Probably.
that is most likely responsible for those ravenous cravings that you have.
Tamps that down a bit.
And so taking that, interesting, I don't know if I've ever intentionally taken the green juice after a bad night of sleep to see if it would do that. That's actually would be a really cool, I would love the audience, okay? The
Usually
next time you have a really bad night's sleep, I hopefully the audience has figured this out because we've talked about it so many times, right? Like, I remember this was a big unlocking my habits around diet. There's something to be said about just becoming aware of why you feel a certain way, how it becomes easier to resist that.
Of course, especially when you know it's about to happen.
Right. So when I know, like if I have a terrible night's sleep, right, like really bad, I know right away that day I'm going to crave weird foods that like I don't normally eat, that are just greasy, bad for me. And so because I know that, it's easier for me to resist that. Now in my 20s, I allowed it to steer me. It's like, and just normal. But when you know it, I feel like that's a big deal. So hopefully the audience knows that because we've talked about it. It'd be interesting for people that do know it and aware of it to intentionally try and use the green juice to try and mitigate that and see if they notice a difference.
Speaking of aware and this and that, I saw you. Now, are you, I'm going to guess that you're trying to offset your sex appeal because it's so high. Because today I saw you wearing Crocs.
Oh, bro.
I saw you wearing Crocs. I'm like, is Adam getting too much flirting?
There's no proof.
What happened, dude?
And they were white Crocs.
There's
too.
no
They were
proof.
like little baby Crocs.
There's no proof.
Yeah.
So listen, this is kind
You were
of
our
funny.
fashion guy.
Yeah.
So I'm fighting a cold right now from the weekend, and so I'm taking all the things right. And this morning, and the mornings are the worst when because you're all dry. Yeah. So this morning I woke up, and we're up a little bit early because it's the day Vicky cuts our hair. So I'm up. I'm like, Katrina and Max are still asleep. I'm being quiet and putting all my stuff on. I'm taking all the meds, all the glutathione, everything. Right. So I'm taking all my stuff. And our house right now is, I turn the heater off at night, so it drops all the way down to like 60 degrees. So it's like freezing cold in the house. And it's kind of my routine. I'm trying, and I think you're like this too, because you get up early. Like, I keep the lights dark. I kind of do my thing, try to be as quiet as I can before I sneak out the house. So when I first get out of the shower, the house is cold. And so as soon as I get dressed, I slide my Crocs on. My Crocs are my house slippers, basically. And they keep my feet warm and then my downstairs is where I keep all my J's and all my shoes. I have a separate closet for those. And then that's right before I head out the door. So I'm cloudy and foggy. I'm doing all my thing. And I don't even realize I never changed my fucking shoes. I don't even know until I get out of the car here. I literally, I opened my door and I kicked my foot out and I looked down and I went,
this must be a nightmare for you.
it was an emergency. I called Katrina. That's why she got down here. I said, you got to get down here.
This is like those bad dreams.
Oh,
you go to school
naked. Naked? This is like mine. So I call her and I go,
We're gonna find out.
You'll never guess what I did. And she's just like, what'd you do? And I was like, honey, I'm wearing my Crocs. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I never put my shoes on this morning. And she's like, oh my gosh, she starts laughing. I said, you're coming down here, right? She's like, yeah, I'm going to be down a little bit. I said, I need you to get down here now. I said, bring me a pair of my J's, something that has red in them. Just bring them down. I said, whatever pair, just anything else. But what I got on right now, I said, can't go on there and have my Crocs. And you sold me out. But I drove the whole way here. Never. That's how cloudy I was.
Yeah.
So, and then it wasn't until I got out. I looked out.
Oh man.
And I was like,
I wish today was one of those days where we had like an important guest or something.
oh, that would have been embarrassing.
That would have been amazing.
That would have been
right?
embarrassing.
Yeah.
That would have been embarrassing.
I
Real
would've-
high profile.
I thought you did it on purpose.
No.
because you always your
No.
shoes. You pay
This was a
attention
deal.
to.
This is a deal I made even with my wife, right? Because she hates them too. And I remember, if those that have been listening to the podcast long enough, I talked a lot of shit about Crocs back in the days. And then I'll never forget, my nephew had them up at the Truckee house,
bro.
and I slid my feet in those little furry Crocs, and I went, "Oh my God, this is just pure comfort." But I vowed, I said this, listen,
New Balance coming next.
hey,
It's just
for
definite.
in the house, walking around, I can wear them, but I'm not dressing them and going out in public in them, stuff like that, like a 16-year-old. I'm not doing that.
Dude, people wear Crocs to the gym.
Everywhere,
Oh no.
everywhere.
Kids wear them all the time.
That's why I refuse to wear them like that. Like,
Now, did you put yours in sport mode, or did you have the
I've never worn them in
Slipper
sport.
mode.
I've never worn them in sport mode because they're only slippers for me. They are literally walk around the house. The furthest I get outside is to take the trash cans
What do
out.
they call those little accessories you put in the little buttons?
Charms.
Yeah.
Little charms.
Mine
Yes,
have a
yes.
couple of
I'm
them.
gonna start buying you some of those.
I have a couple of mine
you?
at home. Yeah, because my son liked them, so I have like Lightning McQueen one or something else.
I got moccasins, so I can't really talk
Yeah,
shit.
bro, you and your moccasins
Yeah.
were a little.
I mean, I definitely have some
Quiet.
shoes that for a shoe person, I would be embarrassed that people knew I had them before around the house situation.
my favorite shoes that I see anybody in here wear is when Doug wears his expensive cowboy boots.
his
Walks
his
around,
alligator
he's like-
skins,
Oh yeah.
his
You
gators.
got a different walk when you wear them,
Gator
too.
boots with his
He's
pinned
got a little hip
Gucci
shift.
suit.
Yeah, dude. Like, oh, Doug's trying to.
Like
Yeah,
he's almost like he's holstering a gun. or
yeah,
something.
dude.
He's flexing on us for sure.
I need to get some spurs to
I
go.
feel like
Yeah,
he's
you do
holstering
need
something
spurs.
there.
That'd be
We
sweet.
got to walk around the block. You know, he's got his
Yeah.
little boots on.
Yeah.
Like, look at Doug, man. Look at all flying.
Double holstered. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh
Yeah.
shit!
Masszymes by Optimizers are digestive enzymes that will supercharge your protein digestion. In fact, some studies show that taking the digestive enzymes and Masszymes will increase amino acid absorption by 1,200%. Make your protein much more effective, but also help break down your fat and fatty acids and your carbohydrates into more digestible forms of sugars, things that your body needs for energy. Anyway, go check them out. Get yourself a discount. Go to buyoptimizers.com. That's BIOPTIMIZERS.com/mind pump. Then use the code mindpump10, get 10% off. All right, back to the show. This segment is brought to you by trainerwebinar.com, where you can watch free webinars from Adam and I. By the way, our trainer course now is accredited. You get continued education units from NASM. Check it out.
Our first caller is Amelia from Michigan.
Amelia,
How you doing?
how are
Good
you?
morning.
Hello, how are you guys?
We're great. How can we help you?
All right. Well, I will read my question just so I don't get off topic. So I will just kick it off. As I mentioned, I've been working in the health and fitness space for a while. I started back in 2019, and I am currently an online coach working for another business, and then an in-person health coach at a functional medicine doctor's office. And I'm really comfortable as an online coach, but in my role as a functional medicine health coach, I'm working with patients, up to 30 patients at a time throughout the week with nutrition and lifestyle. And about a third to half of these patients, especially since I submitted my question, are on GLP-1 peptides, so either semaglutide or tirzepatide. And we do offer, a host of other peptide therapies as well, but when I'm working with patients, I predominantly see GLP-1s and then BPC 157. And a majority of the patients that do come to see me are also seeing me for weight loss in some capacity. I would say 90% of my patients are looking for weight loss, whether they're on peptides or not. So it's really neat. I get to meet a lot of different people in a lot of different places, but I only get to see these patients every 4 to 8 weeks. Sometimes that's longer because there's no, sessions that they're buying. They're just by appointment. And so some people I see twice a year. And that's obviously an adjustment to working with clients on a weekly basis, getting to chat with them throughout the week, like as an online coach, or even when I was doing in-person personal training. And so in our appointments, we get 20 to 60 minutes to chat. We go through an in-body, we'll go over nutrition, sleep, exercise, stress. But I want to be able to offer them as much guidance and at like an optimal level, since I'm only seeing them once every few months, before I may get to see them again if they decide to come back. And so I usually give reference materials, podcast episodes. I'll make handouts. I've recommended books. I often recommend MAPS programs. And I'm just wondering, how you guys might approach this kind of situation to optimize their progress when it's a lot more hands off.
Great question.
You would have been a great trainer to have been in our group that we just did. I mean, we had coaches and trainers that watched us coach GLP-1 patients every week. That was, and there was a lot we learned with those patients. And I can imagine if I only got to see them once a month or every other month, what a challenge that would be to keep them on target and pace. I know from our experience, the number one challenge and the hardest thing is them hitting their protein targets and doing that consistently. And the inevitable will happen, which is almost all, if not all, will end up having to reverse diet at some point. And so that's probably the greatest challenge that we had, was communicating that. And I think could you imagine if we only had one time to talk to them for every 2 months?
She's saying even less than that, once every 4 months or twice a year. I would say, Amelia, you have to fight the temptation to want to give them all the information all at once, because you're not going to see them again for a while.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because that's probably, I know that's what I would be tempted to do. Like, okay, I'm not going to see you
so here's
for
all
a while.
this.
So here's a workout plan. Here's diet advice. Here's sleep advice. Here's stress advice. Here's 10 podcasts. Here's all these references.
Great point.
And what ends up happening is they end up doing none of it because it's too much all at once. So the best strategy, in my opinion, is to find what they'll do and focus just on that. The less, the better, because you're meeting with them so infrequently.
I mean, would you agree then the point I was making about the protein would be like the main thing that you're probably hammering?
It depends on the person, right? But I think what I would do, because again, ideal is not, I wouldn't go with what's ideal. I would go with what you believe they're going to do and adhere to. Okay, so it's going to be less than ideal advice because you only have 30 minutes or maybe an hour if you're lucky. So what I would do is I would say, here's a good protein powder. Okay. Ideal would be whole natural foods, but you're not going to be coaching them. If you coach them on a regular basis, totally different, but you're going to meet with them once. Here's a protein powder that I like. Can you tolerate dairy? Yes, I can. No, I can't. Okay. Get this protein powder. I want you to take it twice a day. So there's one. Very prescriptive. Take this twice a day. They'll probably do it because it's very basic, very simple. Here are 3 exercises I want you to do every day. And I would show them body weight squats, wall push-ups, and some band rows. That's it. So the entire 30-minute period is going to be coaching them on technique of the exercise, protein intake, when to take it. And then, hey, by the way, if you're finding it difficult to even drink this protein shake, because GLP-1s can be really, really powerful, you can also try amino acids, essential amino acids. It's a lot thinner and easier to process. And then maybe creatine. And then, when it comes to, and then here's some of the challenges you may encounter. And you bring up the challenge. If you encounter these challenges and come up with the most common ones, here are some references and resources I think you can point to. So here's a podcast about reverse dieting. Here's a podcast about, I think I'm getting weaker. I don't have enough energy. And that's it.
Sal, that's a really good idea. If she put together, I don't know if you've already done this. Maybe you've already done this because you did say you reference a lot. Like I would have like a FAQ. Here's the top 5 challenges that people have. This,
if
and
this happens to you, go here.
If you are challenged with this, you need to listen to this episode of Mind Pump. If you're challenged with this, and
flow chart. Yeah,
we've probably covered it. Most of these points in a topic, or at least if you go to askmindpump.com, you could probably get a more specific answer. But yeah, something like that, where it's like I'm picking in that one session. Obviously, the individual, they're going to vary, although I think the most common will be the protein thing. But they'll vary because there are going to be some people that we found that could hardly even work out at all. And then others were like, man, they were training, they were wanting to do more because they had the energy. So knowing what you can prescribe, focusing on that 1 or 2 things, and then having a FAQ thing.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, the 30 to 60-minute session would start like this. Asking questions, get to know them. make the case for what you're about to recommend. Keep it simple. So I need to kind of make the case. So, okay, well, here's what people experience going on a GLP-1. The data shows people can often lose a lot of muscle. Now, I want to let you know, GLP-1s don't cause muscle loss. Here's what's happening and why people lose muscle. So now I'm making the case. And here's what happens when you lose muscle. Your metabolism can slow down. The low calories you're eating now stop working. You stop losing body fat. So now I'm painting the picture. I'm making the case. Now here's what you should do. Take this protein shake twice a day. Can you tolerate dairy? Yes. Okay. Here's the ones I recommend. Twice a day, every day. I want you to take this. And then I'm going to show you 2 exercises or 3 exercises that I want you to practice. Try to do them at least a few days a week, but if you do them every day, that's great as well. And then the rest of the session is teaching them how to do those exercises and getting them comfortable to do them. If they leave, think about it this way, if they leave that session with you and all they do is take a protein shake and do 2 or 3 exercises a day, it's a big win. Yeah. Because you don't get to meet with them very often. Then if you meet with them again in 4 months, hey, how was that shake? How were those 3 exercises? Oh, I didn't do it. Scale back. Or, yeah, I did it. It was great. Cool. I'm going to add one more thing to that. So it's just like coaching. The difference is you only get to meet with them once. And what you want to fight is the urge to fire hose them with tons of information. Because what'll happen with that, guaranteed, is they'll do nothing. Yeah. They'll leave and do nothing.
Or they'll try and do all of it and realize they can't stick to all of it and then give up on all of it versus hitting the 1 or 2 big rocks that is probably going to make the biggest difference.
Totally. 100%.
Okay. No, awesome. I definitely think that's a mistake I made when I first started was let me give you everything until I see you next time. And then I saw that was not productive.
I mean, it would be hard not to do that, right? Because I'd have the answers. Yeah, because you know the answers, you know where it's coming, and you only get that one time with them. So, but yeah, I like that. I like the idea of 1, 2 big things, but then you can have the FAQ. You know, if this, go to here, watch these resources. Yeah. Do you guys not have like a forum or a community where these people can at least
great idea.
Meet and talk like online?
Follow up emails.
So it's like a primary care office. Yeah. So yeah, they might, for different patients, we have different levels of patients like concierge versus just our primary care patients. They might, but I don't see as many of the like top tier patients. I see more of the primary care who are
now. Amelia, would you be overstepping them by creating your own Facebook group or something that you like? And it's more like a support. So you're not committing to, I'm going to coach everybody individually, but hey, here's a support community where all my GLP-1 clients that I've created on Facebook, you could join and we can help each other out, and I'll dip in there and share articles. I mean, that would probably be really valuable in maybe not a huge commit. I mean, and a really good look on you for the company that you thought of something like that.
If I owned the clinic and you said that to me, I would be like, oh my God, that would be an incredible service to offer. Yeah. And then for you, you're probably going to get clients out of that who eventually want to work with you as well, which I'm sure isn't an issue as well, right? But I think that's a great idea, Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely bring up to the my supervisor and see how she feels about that for sure.
Yeah, I would hope they would do that. I think you could really help a lot more just having a community.
Yeah, the way I would bring it up is I'd say, it's really challenging because I don't get an opportunity to work with these people or communicate with them and answer questions. Would it be okay if I created a free forum? They have them, you can create one on Facebook, and then they just go in there. And then if they have a question, or I could post some information in there just to help them stay consistent or provide a way for them to get better resources, that would only help the clinic, because the more successful these clients are, the more successful the clinic is.
We got to get you in our course, Amelia.
I know. I've been watching it. I just, I am going to be bringing a tiny human into the world in April. So we have been really tight. Thank you. We've been really tight on things so that when I take maternity leave, we don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Does that help you? Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that's it. I think I'm sure you hear this a lot. Well, I know you hear it a lot because I hear it. I kind of knew what answers were going to be, but I do think, an FAQ page would be super, super helpful. I think a group forum would be really good for our clinic, and then just piecing those pieces together and dialing it back a little bit probably on my end would be super beneficial for our patients.
Totally.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, for anybody who's listening right now, who's a coach or a trainer, or even somebody who wants to pursue fitness themselves, the information doesn't matter, regardless of how effective and accurate it is, if nobody applies it.
There's no adherence.
And so as a trainer or a coach or somebody who wants to pursue health and fitness for yourself, you always have to ask yourself, is this going to happen? Am I going to be able to do this consistently? Or as a coach or trainer, are they all going to do all this? Are they going to be able to do this forever? If it's a no, then it's not only a waste of time, you're actually setting them back. So always the number one consideration is what will actually be done. Let me start there.
I feel like I wouldn't even ask permission. I would just do this. I think it would
The forums?
Yeah. Just to be a good look. It'd be a good, and for the boss too, find that out that you did that.
Totally.
Like, and come from a place of just, I'm building a community to support. I don't see how that would be a conflict, and it would be a shame if someone stopped her from doing that. And the value that I think that community would get, considering they don't get any contact with her but every other month. I mean, for sure.
Agreed.
Our next caller is Jeff from Connecticut.
What's up, Jeff?
What's up, Jeff?
How can we help you?
What's happening?
Hello. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer my question.
You got it.
So I keep hearing you guys talk about needing to hit protein every day because there's no reserve of it. It's got me wondering about the timing of consuming it throughout the day, though. If there's no reserve, it seems to be best to space it out into a lot of small meals throughout the day or to consume it surrounding activity. For example, I have 2 kids that are competitive gymnasts, and they have practices that are 3 and 4 hours long. I'm curious if it would be best to consume a lot of protein before or right after, or just looking for your opinions on the best way to time it.
That is true. And that would be ideal, although nothing trumps the total, right? So if a client came to me and they were trying to time it optimally, like you're asking right now, and I'd say yes, but then they go like, I just have such a hard time. I keep missing my protein intake. It's easier for me to get more in the morning or late at night. Then I would say, well, listen, hitting it total is far more important than the timing of it. But if I've got an athlete that's going to do whatever I tell them to do, and they have a 3-hour practice like that, absolutely loading it before and after would be an ideal situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 scenarios here, 2 ways to answer this. Number one, the number one thing to consider with protein throughout the day is digestion. The second thing to consider is you probably don't want to eat it in a way that interferes with your sleep, like right before bed. Everything else starts to become splitting hairs, except for when you're talking about high-level athletes. When you're training for 3 to 6 hours at a time, you want to have some carbohydrates and some protein probably before, during, and after, just to continue fueling the body. Now, most people don't work out for 3 to 6 hours, so you'll rarely ever hear us make a big deal about this. Like, most people go to the gym and they'll work out for an hour, and it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. You probably don't need carbohydrates and protein during your workout or before your workout or after. It doesn't make that big of a difference. But when you're talking about training for that long, it starts to make a difference with performance. It does. But if you're not doing that yourself, consider digestion. In other words, I'm hitting 200 grams of protein a day. Should I eat it in 4 meals or should I eat it in 1 meal? Well, probably 4, because 200 grams at once isn't going to feel very good. And so it's really a digestion issue. It's like, what can my body break down, and what's going to cause me gastric distress, or what's going to feel good? That would be the top thing.
Okay, that makes sense. And it gets difficult because they actually don't get home from practice until 9 o'clock at night. So they have to eat dinner after that generally.
Right. And that's why I say number 1 is the hitting it, right? So that's like the top priority, is whatever the number is, which I'm sure you've heard us talk about, their goal weight in grams or whatever. That's the main goal. Then comes timing, right? With an athlete like that, it's like I want to make. So I would never tell her when she gets back from practice and it's 9 o'clock at night and she's under her protein intake. Oh, just because it's late at night, don't do it. Even though Sal brings up the point that it's not the most ideal time for digestion, but it's also she needs it. So it's like I'm going to tell her to get it at that time.
And in a scenario like that, I would make sure that they ate something an hour or 2 before. And then during training, I would have some kind
Snacks.
of liquid,
ready to drink protein.
Yeah,
shake.
so maybe some like a protein shake that they could have halfway through.
Yep. That's what I did with my kids.
Yeah.
Same situation exactly with the gymnastics and that long. It is taxing, and they do need that to replenish that, throughout in the middle of the practice. So, and they would eat late, and honestly, as long as they can digest it and doesn't impede on their sleep, like it's just something that they can they're pretty resilient with it. So
Yeah, and then maybe
Did you
some
have them?
carbohydrates.
Did you have ready to drink
shakes.
protein? Is that what you did?
We
or-
did shakes, or we did like like beef jerky and stuff like that,
Nuts.
just for snacks and nuts and yeah.
But and you can have some like carbohydrate in their drinks, little electrolytes just through the practice. And that would all work out great. And you base it off of how they feel. Some athletes consuming too much during training starts to take away from their performance. Other people need a little bit more. So I would start low and then just take it from there.
Okay, can I ask something a little bit more specific about it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so if let's just throw a nice round number out there. Say the number was 100 grams of protein they needed in a day. Is there a certain percentage of that you would want to group around the practice, or just
you were starting to get into the hair splitting, territory. If you're eating 100 grams of protein in a day, I would make sure to have about 35 grams of protein for breakfast, maybe another 30 before practice, and then after the other 30 or something like that, or 35. And then I
try to load up a lot in the morning.
And the carbohydrates should probably be in there before the practice and after as well, especially if you're going to bed, because it can help with cortisol when you have some carbohydrates. So if you find that they have trouble sleeping after hard practice, some starchy carbohydrates with their dinner can probably help.
I'll tell you this though, Jeff. If you are getting your kids to consistently hit their protein intake target at any time of day, you're winning compared to most people.
For sure.
It's really hard to get kids to be consistent with hitting their protein intake or to even care about it, much less. And so as a dad, if you are accomplishing that already, you're definitely winning.
Jeff, let me give you something easy. Are your kids okay with dairy?
yes?
Oh, milk. Bring some whole milk. Done.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Drink.
So for my daughter, that's going to work. My son doesn't like it, but he's okay with it.
Yeah, literally, like you bring a whole milk box, and hey, halfway through, drink this. And literally, there's actual studies on this comparing milk to protein powder, sport drinks,
similar,
and it does just as well.
Well, because it's pretty much the same thing, just a little bit of boosted protein.
You got some sugars in there, some fats, some great protein.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, sounds good.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Milk has got to be one of the most overlooked, performance drinks.
We've watered it down so much over the years. It's like if you just get like whole milk, it has all the nutrients.
It's got everything.
I don't know if you guys remember this. I think I mentioned it to you a couple of years back. This was almost, I want to say like 4 years ago. Chocolate milk.
I remember.
Yeah, was reaching out to us because they were trying to make a big comeback in sports.
Yeah, because there was a study. There was an actual study that compared chocolate milk to like expensive protein performance drinks, and it was the same.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. I mean, I could get behind it totally. I think it's just I think dairy got such a bad rap that we started. Right. Yeah, so we just started saying that it's not a great choice for that, but it really is. And really, that's the only difference between chocolate milk and then a protein shake is the protein shake's got an extra 10, 15 grams. Yeah. 10, 15 more.
This almost makes me angry, this conversation though, because this is the kind of stuff I'll stress like on my kids and like all this, and the buy-in is everything. So if he's getting the buy-in from his kids, I don't think he realizes what a win that is.
I mean, that's that was my point. Yeah. It was just like, dude, if you're a dad and you got your kids caring about trying to hit their protein intake, like all right, like win. Win. Yeah, and then we might play with, let's try 25 today and let's do it this. I mean, if they're bought in like that, then have some fun with it. Then mess with the different, because the truth is we are splitting hairs at this point, so long as they're hitting that. And so then I go back to what kind of Sal said, it becomes what convenient and digestion, like what's easy for them, what can they do consistently, what do they like. I'm going to be playing with those things versus what do the studies say is the most optimal time for them.
This one increases muscle protein synthesis.
Yeah, it's like, dude, my kids care.
Drinking element tea, we'd be doing all the things.
Right.
The January special is here. We have 4 workout program bundles: the new to weightlifting bundle, the body transformation bundle, the New Year extreme intensity bundle, and the body transformation bundle 2.0. Every single one of those workout program bundles is $300 off retail. It's a massive sale. If you're interested, go to mapsjanuary.com. All right, back to the show.
Our next caller is Tiffany from Canada.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, hello.
How can we help you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, gentlemen. I've just begun taking a GLP-1. I'm 40 years old, 170 pounds. My maintenance calories are about 2,000. As part of my protocol, I've been drinking 2 liters of water a day, walking. I've been training with MAPS 15 using light weights. Hitting 140 grams of protein daily. And I really started the GLP-1 to just help curb my cravings a bit. But I don't want to eat too low of calories, like where it makes me sick. I lose weight too quickly. It hinders my ability to maintain muscle. So my question is, how do I know if I'm eating too low of calories while on the GLP-1?
So before going in the GLP-1, you calculated that your maintenance was at 2,000?
Yeah, that's what I was eating, and my weight really didn't change based on my level of activity.
Okay. Now, ideally, so I'm just going to be straight with you, I wouldn't cut your calories until reverse dieting you. Nonetheless, we're here. You're on the GLP-1. It's going to reduce your caloric intake. I wouldn't want you to go below 1,500. Yeah. I would want to continue to strength train, hit your protein targets. Once you plateau, you're going to want to fight the urge to go lower with your calories. So once the plateau hits, what I would try to do is reverse diet, get stronger. That's what you want to focus on. Get your calories back up to 2,000 or a bit higher, and then cut again. I don't like seeing anybody below 1,500 calories. And on a GLP-1, it could be real easy to get below 1,000.
Oh, yeah. And
that's when the muscle loss happens. And what you don't want to do is plateau at 1,000 calories a day.
Well, the truth is you're going to, right? So I'm with Sal. Like in this situation, if you were my client, the first thing we would have done would have been reverse diet first before we did the GLP-1. But since we're here, I mean, I'd put you down to 1,500, get a little bit of weight loss because you will get some from that. And then you're going to hit a plateau. And then when you do, we got to go back the other direction. And then I'd love Doug to give you our GLP-1 program, even though I think MAPS 15 is a great program and works for this. We have other things that we talk about in there, like related to nutrition and diet and stuff kind of like you're alluding to and asking, so that if you are, having challenge with it, you can refer to what we recommend inside there.
How long have you been on the GLP-1?
She just started, right?
I only just began, so it's only been like maybe a month. And
have you noticed any effects yet with the appetite?
Yeah, it's definitely curbed it. So, there are like some digestion issues, and it just you don't feel hungry. Sure. That being said, I've still been able to hit like my protein targets, and if I needed to eat 1,700, I could make it work. But
do you know what you're eating now, just on the GLP-1, what you're averaging?
Yeah, I'm still tracking, and it's been like about 1,700.
Okay.
Because I've been way too scared to go below, because I don't want to eat, I don't want to lose the muscle that I've already built on my body. And
good job.
Good girl.
Good job.
Yeah.
Slow is better with this. Track your strength. Your strength is going to tell you a lot. With weight loss and a reduction in calories, a little bit of strength loss often happens regardless. But if you start to notice like energy really dips, strength really go down, then you're going a little too low. You're probably taking a multivitamin, right? Make sure you're not missing any essential nutrients. Creatine is a great supplement regardless, but I really like it for people on a GLP-1. Make sure you're drinking enough water, because with the reduced hunger signal, what we're seeing now is actually a reduced signal for water as well. And some of the lean mass loss might be just a little bit of water loss.
Yeah, Tiffany, did you? We've been on for 30 days, and you've been down to 1,700. Have you seen the scale move at all, or has it been maintaining the same?
It was very minimal, which I wasn't worried about yet, because I don't want to lose too quickly either.
Yeah.
It was maybe a quarter of a pound, like a week or something. Okay. So there's no swoosh yet or anything.
No, it's actually, considering where we're at calories and what you're doing, it's probably the best case scenario that you're going through now. Because if you're hitting your protein intake and your strength training and you're a little bit lower calories, the scale might not move very much.
Or it just might be a slow
real slow, because what might happen is you might have a nice little exchange every now and then. You build a little bit of muscle because you're able to hit that protein intake, and then other times you'll lean out a little bit. So you're probably in the best spot you can be right now. The hardest part will probably be the psychological part of doing this for such a long period of time and maybe not seeing that drop that much. But if strength is holding or even potentially gaining, we've seen some clients that saw some of that. That's an awesome place where you're
how's your performance in the gym been during this process?
It's been steady. I mean, I purposely switched to much lighter weights so that I wasn't really like pushing myself at all.
Good.
So it'll be interesting. Like I really appreciate the GLP-1 program, and I'll see like if I can like maintain that as well. I'm not sure what the training's entailed in that, but if it's similar to Max 15 or
Tiffany, I'll be straight with you. Of all the people we've had on here on GLP-1s, your approach is the most sound.
Intuitively, yeah, you're really
That's because I listened to you guys.
Well, hey, so did they, but they didn't really do.
You actually listen to us. Yeah.
No, great job. I mean, here's another strategy, Tiffany, is you could cycle your calories between 1,200 up to 1,800 on a weekly basis. In other words, some days, couple 1,200 calorie days. Ooh, let me bring it back up to 1,800 for a day or two. Now let me go down to 1,500. You can cycle your calories in. We don't have a ton of data to support this, but in our experience, this tends to result in better results rather than a kind of a consistent 1,500 or 1,700.
I mean, I would rather see that if possible. Because there's obviously, I'm sure there's days where you're like, man, I don't even that hungry. On those days when you're not feeling it, I would allow those to be a little bit lower. And then days when maybe the appetite kicks up, or maybe you strength trained, or you had a little bit more activity, then feed it a little more. And I would like that. I would like to see kind of you undulating the calories.
But what might just happen is if you stay around 1,500 to 1,700, you might see progress for a while. It might just be slow, but you might not hit a plateau for a while so long as your strength training and sleep are all in check and you're hitting the protein targets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that approach, like the undulating throughout the week. Because there are, I know Adam, you went on, there's some days where you're like, oh, I could definitely hit like everything. And there are other days where you're like, I'm not hungry.
Yes.
Like,
totally.
But you need to hit your protein. I know you'd mentioned the reverse dieting ideally, I maybe would have done that first, but is there a calorie number that you would have felt more comfortable with me starting at before?
Yeah, I would have liked you to be more like 2,600 before we came back down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, because I know in a past episode, like when you were going through with the GLP-1 crew coaching, that there were some people you mentioned that you tried to reverse diet like while they were going through the process too, just because they got too low, and I'm assuming maybe they plateaued.
Yeah, they plateaued.
I mean, there was some people that plateaued for 6 months at like 1,000 or 1,200 calories. So at some point, probably almost everybody in there was going to have to reverse diet. Yeah, that was the most compelling thing that we saw.
Now the cool thing about using the GLP-1 while you do that is, I mean, and it sounds like it's affected you like this. It definitely affected me this way, and I've seen this with most people. Is the desire to eat the foods that were more hedonistic or that you had attachments to wasn't there. Like I didn't have the craving for ice cream or none of that stuff, and so when you do tend to reverse diet, if you can stomach and eating the food, you don't really have the desire to binge or eat on the other ones that are you're going to put a bunch of extra calories. So the clients that we did reverse diet were successful doing it in that. Obviously, we only had them for a short period of time, so it'd be neat to see where they're at 6 months from now. But it seemed that most people at one point would have to reverse a little bit because they would get to a point where they're down into the low thousands, and it's like and at a plateau, and the inevitable, they've got to go the other way.
And is that like a month or a couple months they usually reverse diet people?
It depends. Yeah, it depends. But you could do it slow. You would add like 100 or 200 calories a week and see how you feel. Typically, what happens is you don't see any changes except for more energy and strength. And you can slowly do that process. If you start to see the scale go up too quick or whatever, you just pause the reverse and focus on getting stronger. If you're getting stronger in the gym, that is one of the best signs that the reverse diet is
even
working.
Maintaining, right, with that low calorie. If you're maintaining strength, it's a really good sign.
Well, I mean, when she reverses.
Oh, yeah. Tiffany, are you in our private forum yet?
I'm not.
I'll have Doug put you inside the private forum so we have access to you.
I super appreciate it. Yeah, this is the first time I've called in. It's amazing. I'm so happy I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, we're going to send you the GLP-1 so you have access to that, and then also the private forum. And so as you go through this process, just let us know. Keep in touch with us. Maybe every 30 days or so, give us an update on what you're noticing. If you have any questions, reach out, and hopefully we can give you some guidance as you go through this.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so glad I talked to you at the beginning of this journey. So.
Yeah,
awesome.
Us too.
Great job.
You're doing great, Tiffany.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye. Yeah, let that be a lesson. Anybody starting a GLP-1, it's first off rare that people have her approach. Yeah. But it is the right approach. If you do it right, you will not hit the inevitable pitfalls or challenges or plateaus that'll occur from a rapid cut in calories. Where, you know, what you don't want to do is like, imagine this scenario. I need to lose 60 pounds. I go into GLP-1. I start to lose weight. Oh my God, I've lost 35 pounds and I have, you know, whatever left, 25 pounds left, 30, and I'm plateauing and I'm only eating 1,200 calories a day.
Yeah.
What do? Eat 1,200 calories for the rest of my life? Stay on GLP-1 forever? Because there are other effects from eating low calories. You don't just get less, you know, you don't just lose weight. You'll have less energy. You'll have less nutrients. And you don't want to live on 1,200 calories for the rest of your life. So it's not just about getting better results. It's also just you don't feel good.
Our next caller is Ben from North Carolina.
What's up, Ben? How you doing, man?
What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, how are y'all doing today?
Good. How can we help you?
Good. So I will just get right into it. My question's a little complicated, so you're welcome. I've got a little bit of a pelvic asymmetry that I've been trying to get to the bottom of. So I have what I was told is basically pelvic torsion. So basically on my pelvis, my right ilium is a little bit flexed forward and my left one is a little bit posteriorly tilted the opposite direction. I know this because I had it measured by calipers that measured the degree of tilt from the ASIS to the PSIS. And then when I look at myself in the mirror, I can see that I have, when I put my fingers on the two bony parts, they're in different spots. And so on my left side, where the pelvis goes backwards, there's a bit of a hip hike. So my rib cage is closer to my pelvis on that side. And this also is evident in a little bit of a muscle imbalance that I've developed. So basically, on the side where the pelvis goes forward, my right side, the quads and thighs are a little bit more pronounced, whereas the glute on that side is a little bit more atrophied and weak. And the opposite is true on the other side. So the pelvis on the left side goes backwards. So I have a little bit more glute, but less thigh and quad on that side. And I've also noticed that, like, if I do like a single leg deadlift, the side on the left where there's a hip hike, I'm a little bit more imbalanced as opposed to on the right. So I've tried a bunch of different things to try and correct this. I ran map symmetry all the way through recently, which, as a bit of an aside, was fucking awesome. It didn't really do anything for my pelvis, but it completely fixed the shoulder problem I was having. I couldn't do any overhead press or benching, and I ran map symmetry, and now the shoulder pain is almost completely gone. So props to y'all for that. But I'm still dealing with this weird pelvic thing, and I've just recently started reintroducing barbell work back into my routine, and everything's going okay so far. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, should I be worried about this? And if so, how do I address it?
Did you play sports, martial arts? Did you do something?
Oh,
interesting.
What's your background, by the way? Because you seem to be knowledgeable on communicating anatomy. Are you a trainer or a coach?
Yeah, I'm a personal trainer, and I was trained initially through the Czech Institute, so I'm about a level 2.
Yep,
I haven't done much with them in a while. I've just been kind of learning on my own since then, but that was like kind of where I learned how to like even address these sorts of issues.
And you're pretty sure that it's torsion, right? It's not like a lateral, flexion or extension issue, right? It's actual torsion.
Yeah, because I mean, like, if I put my fingers on my ASISs and I look down, I can see that the
one's forward and one's back.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the challenge with something like that. It's such it's so insidious, right? Unilateral work won't even work because you're going to compensate on one side or the other. Bilateral work won't work because it's already compensated. You want to, okay, now I'm going to give you the obvious. Look at the tight muscles, the psoas, the internal, external obliques are probably contributing. Maybe the QL is contributing. Sure. But this is a muscle recruitment pattern issue, and you got to go way down to the root of what's going on. So, pelvic work is where I'd focus, like, pelvic clocks, pelvic tilts, side bends. But honestly, Ben, I think you need to work with someone who can watch you and do this correctional exercise with you. Maybe even pelvic floor exercises might be something that you'd want to look into, because it's going to be really hard to self-assess. It's going to be really hard to...
Not even just self-assess. It's like what I did with Kyle, where it's like, I need another pair of eyes
that's
to
what I mean.
Look at the movement and tell me,
that
like,
last little inch.
Because even though I knew the corrective stuff that I needed to be working on, I knew that I couldn't see it very well, and he'd give me little details like, oh no, you need to drive the hip in more, and then I would feel it, and I'm like, oh shit, there it is.
Here's the problem. You're going to do unilateral work, and your form's going to look good on both sides. You're going to do bilateral work, and unless you have a really good eye, it's going to be really hard to pick up unless somebody's kind of watching you. So really, I would boil it all the way back down to pelvic articulation. like just movements that that move the pelvis, anterior, posterior, lateral, rotation, and try to articulate the pelvis in different ways and see if you can identify, any discrepancies. But I really do think you're probably going to want to work with someone who understands, who can watch you and identify. Because once you identify and then you have someone kind of pointing things out, it could be corrected. Otherwise, all your workouts and stuff is just gonna strengthen.
Do you think Dr. Brink could help him virtually?
Yes,
potentially.
Yeah, definitely. Especially because Ben,
are you in? Because he knows. Because he's knowledgeable.
Because he knows, right?
In fact, are you in our private forum, Ben?
I am not. No.
I'm going to put you in the private forum. Doug will do that.
Tag Justin Brink.
Yeah, Dr. Justin Brink is in there. If anybody could help you virtually, obviously getting someone like him in person would be great, but finding someone who is more knowledgeable than you are, who can watch and assess you and teach you through this process is going to be difficult. I know if there's anyone that can do it, it's him.
Yeah.
And he may even be able to look at you while you do it on a video and give you those cues on what he sees. And so tag him, reach out to him, and maybe you guys can connect. That would be my best advice.
Yeah, and the muscles to look at would be psoas, internal, external obliques. I would look at quadratus lumborum, iliacus. I would look at all those muscles and see if you can articulate each of them on either side, and if you notice any differences in how they feel. It's really hard to see on yourself, but see if they feel different. You would also press on them with a little myofascial release, maybe a lacrosse ball, and say, oh, that's tender, that's tight. I would also look at piriformis. Basically everything that can stabilize or articulate the pelvis. But if I were in your shoes, as knowledgeable as you are, I would hire somebody and I'd say, okay.
Yeah, I would defer to Dr. Brink here.
Yeah.
This is where this is above my pay grade as far as being able to even help myself. I'm going over to somebody who's got an eye for this, can see me, and then tell me what they see that I don't even notice.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, that would be helpful because, trying to find, I can't really afford a whole lot of like specialized physical therapists. So trying to find people that take insurance that don't just do this by the book stuff has been kind of like, there's such a divide as to whether or not like it's even possible to have like motion at the SI joint.
Yeah.
Like some therapists say like, that's not real, don't worry about it. And then other people, say like, oh, you have to fix this or else you're going to die. So
Brink is the best that we found.
Yeah. You're going to need somebody like that for it to be worth your time. So, and honestly, Brink might be able to help you with just some things in the forum. So, and you may not even have to invest in him or actually spend time. But if you were going to, that's the guy.
He can at the very least point in the right direction.
Yeah, that's the guy that I'm going to help me with something like this.
Yeah, I mean, I use plenty of his stuff from Prime Pro on my clients, so I'm already like on his team, so that's good.
Yeah.
Awesome,
right on.
Awesome. All right, man.
So I have one more super quick question. Hopefully, is that all right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so
hopefully less
it's
hard.
a trainer question. So basically, as you guys probably know, most of my clients that I see, are only really able to come in roughly about twice a week. Sometimes 3 times a week, but usually it's twice a week. And I want to be able to use MAPS programs with them, but almost all of the programs are 3 days a week. Do you have any quick tips on like ways to condense those into a 2-day-a-week format to try and fit these clients' schedules?
I mean, with your experience, how long have you been training people?
Like almost 2 years.
2 years? Okay, so you're relatively new, but you sound quite intelligent. I would use the MAPS programs as a scaffolding essentially, and then individualize the program yourself. But if I'm training someone once or twice a week, it's almost always full body each time.
Well, yeah, because I would say most of our programs are base full body, so you could just drop a day.
Anabolic, you already have that.
Yeah.
You could drop a day on a lot of them because they're full body like that, or pick and choose like the exercise. Like, oh, okay, I really like the day 3, so I'm going to drop day 2 this week and do it that way based off the client.
Yeah, I mean, just 2 general ideas, right? One is kind of full body strength training. The other is 1 day of strength training, full body. I'm doing maybe 4 exercises. Then the other day is correctional exercise where I'm focusing on movement pattern issues, correctional exercise, pain. That was, generally speaking, what my clients did with me.
We could also take MAPS 15 and put them up together.
That's right.
Stack 2 together.
So yeah, stack 2. That's so MAPS 15. You could stack the days together so that because there's only 2 exercises each day. So you could take the format of MAPS 15 and go, oh, I want you to do all of Mondays and Tuesdays workout today. And then on Thursday, when you come into the gym again, I want you to do the other 2 workouts, and you can combine them like that.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
So just kind of figure out where the muscle groups are that are being worked by each workout and just kind of pick and choose the exercise.
Well, you could, because the way we laid out MAPS 15, it could literally be that simple. You don't even have to pick and choose. You literally could just smash the 2 days together. So
MAPS Resistance would be a good program for him, Doug. Why don't we send that to him? That was a 2-day-a-week routine that I set up for probably the majority of your clients.
And MAPS Resistance, that's kind of in between starter and anabolics.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, that would be super helpful. Thank you.
You got it, man.
Can't wait to hear. Yeah, good luck, Ben. I'd like to hear back from you how it goes with Brink.
Well, tag us.
When you tag Brink, tag us too.
Cool. Yeah, we'll do. Appreciate the advice, guys.
All right, man.
Right on.
Yeah, it's you know, as a trainer,
So
when I would get stuff like this, this is why I always tell trainers, you want to have a network of people you can refer to, because you will not have all the answers, but what you need are the people who have the answers that you can send your clients to. In this scenario, like,
it's such a hands-on thing. You need to visually see.
And not only that, but this is I wouldn't be able to do this as well as Brink.
I know better for sure. And not only that though, like even when you have the knowledge and you do know, this is a point of like
somebody's
like
eyes.
I knew what to do with my rehab, but having even Kyle watch me go through it, and as I think I'm doing the movement perfect, he's looking at little details, and I'm telling you,
your body compensates unconsciously.
Yes, and he would tell me a cue like, "Oh no, Adam, your hip's coming up." You know, like drop or put your right side in a little bit, and then I would do it and be, "Oh, whoa!" I feel like it was that big of a difference. Yet I'm going through it. I'm doing the right movements. I think I'm looking. I'm like, okay,
and you're
good.
Experienced.
Yeah. So I mean,
because there's a lot of kin stretches you could point them to, but if you're not going to apply it with those like very specific cues and get the maximal effort out of it, like it's not you're just barely scratching the surface.
Well, especially with something like this.
Yeah, that's very nuanced.
So very, it's so nuanced. So many things that are incorporated in this. So yeah, no, this is like above. I tell you what though. As a trainer, there's nothing more frustrating than like having the anatomy knowledge and not being able to solve. Like it's like
can't unlock your own
anything that drives me more crazy. It's like having a problem, knowing the problem, and like not being able to fix it is like.
I've had clients with pelvic torsion. I've had clients with pelvic floor muscle issues.
Yeah,
and it is frustrating to identify. And once you identify,
it's hard to work on.
Oh my God, it's so hard. All right, I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. 30% body fat for men. This is way too high. This is actually a bit high for women as well. So in today's episode, we're talking about how you can go from 30 to 10. What is 10% body fat? This is when you have a visible six-pack. Can you go from 30 to 10%? Yes, it's possible, but not if you guess along the way. So we're going to talk about how you can do that in today's episode.
Now, there's a huge range, right, of like body types.
Yes.
Some people can run a little bit heavier or a little bit higher body.